everybody, and welcome to That Real Texas Team podcast, number 26 here on the channel. My name is Curtis Brown. I'm the host of the channel, and I'm also the host on Curtis's podcast network and this AFC South show. So go ahead and hit the like, subscribe button. If you're a Texans fan, you have come to the right place. We are here to talk Texans football only. Been a Texans fan since 2003, so it's a good time in my life because I'm finally getting to see what feels like the rise of a true like Texans era. It feels. We'll get into that. We're going to get into mostly we're going to react to the game 3 versus the Giants in the preseason. We're going to talk about some risers and fallers, who shined, who needed to shine, and who underperformed. We're going to talk about our top 25 going 10 through 6. That is top 25 Texans of all time. On the next This AFC South show, we'll start doing a top 25 of the AFC South, or top 100 of the AFC South on that show. So hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. Please help us get, I'd like to get like 10 likes on this video. We're at 80 subscribers right now. Love to see that jump up to 83 to 85. Hard 85. Let's go 85. Hit the number. If you see it's less than 85, keep plugging. So, I had a short that came out not too long ago about one Davis Mills. And I want to point out some things about it because there's a huge argument thread about whether or not what the video or the short was all about is valid as a point on its own. Well, let's look at this, in a non-biased context. This commenter said something to the effect of, Deshaun Watson's 2020 team was under vastly was vastly less impressive in a talent perspective, and still Deshaun Watson shined throughout all of this. They had Chad Hansen playing and stuff. Well, to that I would say this: the people who made the roster from 2020 to 2021, Deshaun didn't play. That's why Davis Mills was even drafted. Tyrod Taylor was brought in. Laramie Tunsil didn't play in 2021. He got hurt early on and then just stayed on IR. And the team was just like, yeah, okay. So he didn't play. There was talk about whether or not he truly wanted to play football or not. And I've heard Cody Stutes say as much. So ask him about that. And you got Titus Howard in his second year, underperforming yet again, having mediocre play, and then ending the season on IR. Those are our two starting tackles to this day. The starting 3 interior were god-awful in 2021. Fulton was the right guard. Scott Quesenberry was the center. And then, God, I can't even remember the left guard's name. We had AJ Cannon there at one point. It was just not good. Not a good team. This was, without a doubt, I would say one of the worst constructed teams in 2021 ever. It was Davis Mills was the quarterback for, I think it was 11 games. He went it might have been 13 games. He was 2-11 as a starter. And it was predominantly him, Brandon Cooks, David Johnson in his second year with the Texans, and then Rex Burkhead as well. He had like a 148-yard game against the Chargers that the Texans won. Davis Mills had a pretty solid game that game. Davis Mills' first offensive coordinator is the same offensive coordinator that Deshaun Watson had, Tim Kelly. He stayed over when David Culley became the head coach in 2021. Um, so first offensive coordinator, first head coach. They don't do well. We all remember that. 2022 rolls around. They add predominantly players who make immediate impact on defense. Stingley, Petrie. We're talking Christian Harris. Um, on offense in that same draft, we got Mechie, who obviously, because of circumstances beyond his control, did not play that season. He also was coming off of an ACL tear in either the SEC or the national championship game. It's been so long, I can hardly remember which one at this point. And Dameon Pierce. And Dameon Pierce obviously looked great that season. Uh, kind of looks like a one-year wonder at this point, but that was pretty much it was like, oh, and TQ was brought in. Tegan Quatoriano played 4 games and then was put on IR. I'm trying to think who else was brought in. So, I mean, Nico was on the team at this point and had only played in like 7 games his first year and 10 games the second year, and was not particularly playing well. He was getting better his second year, that's for sure. No tight end to speak of. As Brevin Jordan, pretty much it. And then on defense, it was John Grenard, Jerry Hughes. Just not a lot to be inspired by. Derek Stingley ended that first season on IR. Petrie played phenomenally, 4 picks. Should have been probably the defensive rookie of the year, but Sauce Gardner said, I'm going to do Sauce things. So my point here is that Mills inherited an even lesser 2020 squad, won the same amount of games, all the team did as a whole, as they did the year before, with less quarterback production and worse offensive line play. And, they finally had a running back for one of those years. Davis Mills did not play inherently well. I'm not here to say that he's a great quarterback. All I'm saying is we did not see what the actual ceiling is at any point of what Davis Mills is, because he was so just not given anything. The moment they decided we're moving on from Davis Mills, they traded for Shaq Mason to fill in at right guard. They drafted 2 centers. They drafted Kenyon Green was also drafted that in the year prior. So in theory, he's going to come back and play that left guard spot. And he ended up not doing that at all. But and then we brought in some extra tackle talent, and we brought in another wide receiver. We brought in 2 wide receivers, Hutch and Tangdell, to bring in weapons. The only weapon that was brought in the entire time on offense, for Davis Mills, they didn't bring in any worthwhile offensive linemen. They brought in guys like AJ Can, who were rejects or older and could get on the cheap, and 1 year to 2 year fills. That's what this was. Mills was not given a chance because the team saw him as a bridge. Because he was a bridge and they treated him like that, we never actually saw the ceiling. We saw the floor and what the floor looks like, because the next season in 2022, a brand new offensive coordinator, a brand new head coach. Now he's in with D'Amico Ryans in his 3rd and now 4th season with his 3rd head coach, 3rd offensive coordinator. And he's finally starting to show signs of promise now that he's been in a single system for 2 seasons in a row. And that the team has gotten better around him. Holy crap, who would have guessed it? Holy crap, who would have guessed it? Which brings me to my next point, and it's the reason why Davis Mills didn't play in this game at all against the Giants. It's because they already know he's QB2. There is no competition for QB2. Apparently, there is one for QB3, though. So Case Keenum and Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle is what they said on commentary is a Brett Favre gunslinger type, which I find to be an interesting label. I mean, it's an accurate, it's an accurate adage in the sense of Favre was definitely the prototype gunslinger. I never really just put that with Tim Boyle, though, but he was just slanging that thing around. But I think Mills has impressed the coaches enough that, there's no reason to want to get rid of him, to feel uneasy if he gets in the game because of an injury to Stroud. The opportunity here for him is to, if in the event Stroud goes down, or they're down by a lot, or they're up by a lot, that he gets in and shines, getting some money to go somewhere else. And if he does, if he goes somewhere that is what's the word I'm looking for here? Like a disciple of the Shanahan system, I think he might be all right. I think he might actually grow into a better quarterback than we give him credit for. But I digress. So, 28-10 final score for the Texans in Game 3 against the Giants. We are now looking at joint practice time with the Rams ahead of Game 4. So, 28-10. Let's hold on. Let me get the risers and fallers. All right. So let's start off with the negative this time. My first faller, and these are actually linked, so I'm going to say them at the same time. The two fallers this evening are the second team offensive line and Dameon Pierce, because they are doing each other no service at all. The only starters that are playing actively are Juice Scruggs, and Kenyon Green. Laramie Tunsil has not touched the field in preseason. Titus Howard has not touched the field in preseason. I don't even believe Shaq Mason has touched the field yet. So we've got 3 backups and 2 very young NFL players in terms of experience. They're not doing each other favors because one of the backups is playing out of position. Actually, 2 of them are. The right side, Patterson and Broker. Patterson is a center playing guard, and Broker is a guard playing tackle. And whenever they run to the right, Broker's getting beat off the ball, pushed into the backfield, and the defense is able to set an edge so sharp that Dameon can't go around it. He has to cut up, which is by design of the defense to bring in the most tackling opportunities. That's, big guys eating blocks, linebackers coming free, closing in on that guy. This is supposed to be Dameon Pierce's audition to be running back 2. This is supposed to be his time to get over the hump, get used to the system, whatever. I can't sit here and blame the offensive line for everything. He didn't have anywhere near a good offensive line his first year. The tackles were solid, but the interior was awful. New system, second year in the system. I think the issue for him, and I brought this up on prior pods, is that Dameon needs scheduled, choreographed holes to run through. Like he's ready for like a 26 blast going directly in the 6 hole, and that's where the gap's going to be because it's designed that way. Not like an inside zone or an outside zone where it just it looks different every time because the defense is lined up differently. So you have to adjust your blocking a little bit. And so it looks different every time. The hole could be to the outside, it could be to the inside, it could be all the way to the back door. It could be, you remember Arian Foster, when he was at his peak He's standing in the backfield watching the offensive line mow everybody to the right. He would slip out the back, cut up the field, and it was done. Huge gain. That's what the inside zone does because it's so convincing. You can actually run the same exact play over and over and over and over, and it doesn't look identical. So that's why I think Frank Ross does him a lot of service in the special teams game. But Dameon Pierce is not doing himself any service because year one, he was able to you've seen the Jacksonville play where he breaks more tackles than anybody's ever seen in one play. Just couldn't be brought down. Haven't seen that since, really. Well, I mean, he had a couple good games after that, but I mean, honestly, that injury changed everything for him, that rookie season. So definitely a huge, huge big time faller. Now let's get a little on the positive side here. There's a pretty good list here of risers, in my opinion. John Mechie, finally, fucking finally. John Mechie finally has a good performance. 6 catches, 68 yards, and a tutty. Are you kidding me right now? This is what John Mechie needed to be doing. Now I know it was 2s on 2s to start the whole game, and he made his impression felt pretty quickly. And Keenum and Boyle found him early and often. So I'm excited for Mechie. It's exactly what he needed, and I cannot wait to see more of this in week 4 because if he can end up making this roster, he's only going to make us better. All right. Second riser, somebody we questioned, somebody that we said needed it badly. Jalen Petrie. Jalen Petrie had a good performance. It was outside of the interception. I kept hearing all the Texans media talking about how they're finally using Petrie in the same flattering kind of monster way that Baylor was using him, where he was so effective. And it was early and often we found out that was a pretty good option for him. So it sounds like they'll be kind of using him in the nickel. They'll kind of be using him as like a rover or a monster or a star, depending on how you want to label it. But he'll be able to travel the field, cover the nickel, or cover the slot, and occasionally, depending on the formation, be a safety. But that does mean that Kalen Bullock is primed for more reps. And I'm okay with that. The young man has shown some promise early on. Um, with the fall of Pierce, gives rise to opportunity for others. One such other being a recent addition during the preseason, Cam Akers, coming off an Achilles injury. He is looking crisp. Obviously, you can tell that most of the running backs, when you look at the per carry average, most of the running backs are not getting good blocking. You're not getting, I don't know, you're not getting healthy averages. I don't think yet I've seen like a 4 point something per carry from someone, unless it was a 1 carry rush for more than 4. But he had a stellar performance. He continues to build on a stellar preseason. He's looking prime for RB2. And then you have Jaws Jordan. We drafted him this year. Shifty, handy in the passing game. He is starting to see the field a little better. I think he's got a pretty good shot at making the roster for special teams. British Brooks is a huge individual. I believe he's 5'11 and like 225, 30 pounds, something like that, and is just mowing over people. He is a fun running back to watch. I don't know if he'll end up making the roster. I'm going to say no because I think they have a lot of faith in Mixon, Akers, Pierce, and then probably Jaws. But We shall see. And then maybe they move on from Pierce and they keep British, but British scored twice in the red zone. He was able to break away on a couple touchdown or on a couple runs. He showed dominance when running the ball, great vision. I can't wait to see him next week. So that's pretty much all I've got for my risers and fallers this week. Let me know in the comments section what you think the risers and fallers were this week. If I missed any, and yeah, maybe you'll get shouted out in the next one. Now let's move on to my top 25 list. Top 25 Texans of all time. Starting at number 10, we have number 59. No, not that one. The other one, Whitney Merciless. Outside linebacker, edge rusher, defensive end, just a phenomenal athlete. And I can't, is it Illinois or something that it came from? But phenomenal athlete, was able to complement both Mario Williams and J.J. Watt, Brooks Reed, when all those guys were on the team, and uh, was able to put together several really, really solid edge rushing seasons, double digit sacks, um, well earned to be top 10 of all the Texans. Um, Winnie Merciless was without a doubt one of those guys that had the dog in him. And there was a season where it was like one drive against the Chiefs that J.J. Watt went down, and then Whitney Merciless went down, and somebody else went down, and that was like the end of the year for us, basically. So it felt, but um, Merciless, phenomenal athlete, played all 10 years with us, got traded to the Packers. I don't even think he actually played that long, got hurt and retired. Um, phenomenal. Number 9, and maybe a little favoritism here, but D'Amico Ryans, former defensive rookie of the year at linebacker, longtime Texan, goes up to Philadelphia to round out his career. Plays up there for like another 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, and plays damn good football. I think there's actually a world one day where he gets put in the Hall of Fame as a player. But one of the most lights out linebackers, and just like such a cerebral man when it comes to understanding the game. You could see it then, you see it now. Um, Without a doubt, a smart linebacker. He knew how to get everything done. He actually had a lawsuit against the Texans, if you didn't know. He got hurt. There was like a hole that he on the field that the team never did anything about, and he stepped in and like just destroyed his Achilles. And the team never did anything about it until Jadeveon Clowney stepped in it and um, busted up his knee, and then the team fixed it. So he sued them. I don't remember what happened. It was probably settled out of court, but now they're mended the fences, obviously, because now he's the head coach and definitely among the faces of the franchise. And then let's move to the offensive side of the ball for a second. This guy was a center for the Texans for I believe 6, 7 years. He was a Bronco first. He wore number 55, Chris Myers. Pro Bowler, a phenomenal center. At one point was regarded as one of the best centers in the game, and played well into his 30s. I think he actually finished his career with Seattle after he left Houston. Um, he was able to start consistently at the center position and really kind of make a name for himself. He and Wade Smith would just lock down that center guard gap there, and they could move just about anybody and get tremendous success. Um, Chris Myers opened up a lot of holes for a lot of different running backs, Alfred Blue, Arian Foster, and was fairly credited by his peers when they started doing those top 100 lists. Staying on the offensive side of the ball, number 7, left tackle. There's only 2 that should come to your mind that are worthy of being on this list, and number 11 was Dwayne Brown. So number 7 is Laramie Tunsil. Laramie is one of the best left tackles in the game by far, and there's no question about it. I would put him in at least the top 3. Laramie is consistent. He gives you stellar production, and I don't, I can't necessarily credit him for making the guard better, but he was probably a reason that Kenyon Green wasn't as lowly graded as he was, or as he could have been. Because Tunsil Tunsil can take a lot of heat from a lot of players. Josh Allen gets in his grill every now and then, but he's pretty solid. He's going to anchor that left tackle position for a while for us, and he's probably going to go down as one of the best to ever do it. Period, at his position. Which brings me to an interesting person. Number 6 on this list, and the final one we're going over this evening, Jonathan Joseph. J. Joe, number 24. Came over here 4 years into his career, after spending in the first part of his career with Cincinnati. Comes in, immediately is cornerback 1. Has some really stellar seasons early on, and kind of just coasted and stayed the same until like 32, where he started to dip. The Texans saw that. By the time he turned 34, he was out the door, and was out of the league no more than a year after that, after bouncing around on a couple different teams. But Jonathan Joseph had many performances that were important. Like there was just so many clutch moments where it's just like, all right, we need something big from the defense here. And then Jonathan Joseph would come up with a pick, or he would deflect a pass on third and long. It would just be stuff like that. And Jonathan Joseph was always the man making that happen. And that's why he's the top rated corner on this list. Now, I'm not going to tell you much about the top 5, but I will tell you there are 2 defensive players in my top 5. Let me know who in the comments section you think that's going to be. So, the Giants game is not something we're going to take anything perspective-wise from, other than individual player performances. It was great, and coaching to a degree, but it was great to see an immediate impact of our starters on the field, where first pass of the game from Daniel Jones, Petrie gets the pick 6. The next drive, they're driving, Stingley gets an interception at our own 5. The Texans go for it on 4th down when they start with the ball earlier, or deep in the Giants territory. And no, they drive all the way down there. That's right. They're deep into Giants territory, and they go for it on 4th down rather than just kicking a chip shot field goal, and they don't succeed. Now, it would have been nice to see them succeed, get the first down or score the touchdown, but you know, it's a little thing. I'm not super worried about it, but it does worry me a little bit. And I think I'm at least glad that they're trying to do these things in the preseason, so that maybe they can work some kinks out. And then beyond that, the way the entire roster, when we got the lead up, it was just like, all right, let's keep this lead. Let's grow the lead. Let's close these guys out. 28-10 is a statement victory, in my opinion, of a team playing and taking each play seriously. And when that happens, you get what you had Saturday. But I think it's a good spot to go ahead and wrap this one up, folks. I want everybody to understand that I thank you for watching, and I want you to come back. So hit the like, subscribe button. Again, let me get 5 likes on this video. Like, see this subscribe. I'd like to see the subscriber count jump up to 85. And yeah, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. Y'all, we are Texans. We are H-Town made. Well, you know what else? We need to be good people. So you know what? Be good people. Peace.